Hey guys, welcome back to Forever Rad. We are here to show you a special project that is called the Nerd Glide. First and foremost, big thank you to everybody that's been watching the channel, sharing it, subscribing. We've had an overwhelming response to everything, so it's got us really pumped up. We're going to continue. We'll do what we can, no promises, but we will keep the quality high, and we'll be doing some cool stuff, some obviously rad stuff, and we appreciate the support. So let's take a closer look at this bike, and off we go. All right. Here we are. We got the Nerd Glide. So we got Steve Chamberlain over here. We got Jason Springle, world famous painter. And this is a special project. This belongs to one of our team members. His name's Chris, fantastic human being. He helps out on the back end with parts, website, all the really nerdy stuff that bike builders are not really that savvy with, right? Forever Rad is an absolute team effort, and so we can't just build bikes and we can't just sell parts. It takes a little bit of everything. So this bike belongs to Chris. He gave us free rein on this bike, basically. So we had this thing for about a year. Definitely took our time, made the right choices, and we couldn't be more stoked on how it turned out. We basically were able to put kind of a skateboard twist on this, like I really prefer to stick with, and the results speak for themselves. So wanted to just give you a breakdown on this thing and give it a little spotlight, and let's get this thing started. So she's pretty rowdy. As you can see, we got a giant CMP turbo on this thing. We just had this thing dyno tuned over at Horsepower Inc. We're big family and supporters of HPI. This thing put down 180 horsepower, almost 180 foot-pounds of torque. It's got low compression, thick cylinder walls. Hopefully it's gonna hold up a long time. A lot of careful planning on some of the numbers and combos that we chose with this motor to keep it together long term. So
ended up being a 120 cubic inch full S&S crank in the bottom end. I don't remember what cams are in it. I know it was a custom turbo grind cam. We'd have to look at the paperwork. Full primary gone through, transmission gone through, chain drive and all that. So this should be a solid rider with very good power and all that.
It definitely turned out sick. We obviously went through and replaced every single bolt on not only the engine and the transmission, but the entire motorcycle. Every bolt's been replaced. Every cover has been powder coated or anodized. A lot of little polished stainless parts, a lot of Cerakoting, purple anodizing, and then of course, the white.
Like when we were doing that and we were trying to pick up a frame color, like Chris with the whole free rein and that, we said, all right, what color are we going to do this? We're bouncing back and forth. He had some purple powder coating on this bike when it came in, and then we're like, all right, we're going to do a white frame. But if we did a white frame, we were like, we can't do all white motor covers and that. So we went real subtle on the motor because it's a really nasty motor. So just to bring it back a little bit, be like, all right, everything's flat black in the motor, little polish touches, and then we're like, we're gonna hit it with a white frame, because you ain't got nothing to hide when you have a white frame.
Doing a gloss white frame, it's a bold statement. We made the commitment early on. I don't know why we decided to. I'm glad that we did.
Yeah.
I remember the day I came in the shop and Kyle's like, all right, hear me out. Hear me out. White frame. And I'm like, oh man, that's going to open up some big doors for some crazy
It's just a little bit different from what we've always been doing.
Yeah.
At the time when we made the decision, there was really only 1 or 2 bikes I could point out that had a white frame. I wasn't really using any of that for inspiration. I just really wanted to push something new, something different, keep it a little bit fresh and interesting. And so we committed early on. We didn't really know how we were going to paint this bike. I'll save you a long story, but this bike did roll in with a full custom paint job. And when we disassembled it, we were just going to do some suspension and some brakes and, you know, do some detail stuff. But the paint job was falling off of it. The fab work was horrible. It was not going to hold up. So I can't let my boy Chris be riding a bike like that, you know, not with our name on it. So luckily he agreed to let us do our thing. And obviously, like, one of the first things you're going to see when you look at this bike is the paint. It's pretty wild. It's bright white, pink, and blue with purple, and it's got a crazy pearl fade on the top of it. So the inspiration there is the Vision Gator skateboard. We kind of put our own spin on it, and of course, I have my ideas. I didn't really know how to pull this thing together. Steve had some ideas, but the mastermind, obviously, Springle over here, he doesn't really know much about skateboarding. So we threw him for a major loop. And why don't you tell us your thoughts on this thing?
We've been doing a lot of inspiration off of vintage skateboards. He said, let's bring in the Vision skateboard. Remember that one? And I'm like, I'm not much of a skateboard guy, but I know what you're talking about. And then I really started picking apart just the aesthetics of it, the flow of it, how that can work in a panel paint job, like you see right here. And it worked extremely well. Picked up really good with the colors. We, basically just took the design straight off the vintage Vision Gator board, vectorized everything in-house. Once it was all laid out, we put it all in panels. That way we have all the surrounding edges are still white, so it's color matched to the frame, so we weren't running colors into the white frame. Once everything was laid out, it was the fades, it was picking the right colors, it was doing the drop shadow to give the dimension, it was matching the pinstripe on it, as you'll see, to just kind of flow with the purple anodizing that was on the bike. We got everything laid on the sides, we got our design, our flow, we got everything where we wanted it, and then it's like, the middle of the bike needs something more. It just wasn't enough for us. We didn't want to go over the top, and just because you can, don't mean you got to kind of mentality. So we did the violet pearl in the panels on the top.
And what I say with that violet pearl, like, it's so wild because you just don't see how it pops until you walk around this bike. Like, as you walk around this bike, I don't even know if it's going to pick up, like, in how this camera is, but you got to see this bike in the sun. This bike in the sun is absolutely insane, just as you do a walk around.
The best part was definitely that we needed more on the top side. It was just a little too boring. And so we picked apart some of the interesting shapes. Yeah, they kind of just look like triangles, but it's all very strategically placed so it flows, on the tank through the dash. It's in the top of the lids. It's anywhere you have like a blue panel. It's the same graphic throughout. So it's very well thought out, even though we were just kind of winging it. And I really think we pulled it together. It's been crazy the feedback we've gotten in person with that. So many people go to the pearl section of it, which we didn't really plan on. It's cool that it worked out that way.
Yeah, and we didn't want something that was in your face because the side of the bike is in your face enough. Let's just give it a little technical upgrade in the middle instead of just solid white. And we also can't overlook, this is just straight bright white. It's not a GM formula, it's not a Ford formula. It is straight white toner. So it is just super impactful in the sun, which I feel like it makes the violet pearl just do some weird stuff anyways.
The other important part is that we nailed the color match from the body panels to the frame. That's going to be a major focal point. I want everything to flow like it's a part of the frame and the tins, and that's why we laid out the panels the way we did. And of course, you can take any skateboard and say, oh yeah, just take that and throw it on a motorcycle. Right. Well, in this case, it didn't really work that way. We had to kind of start from the top and then get to the middle and then flip it back to the top because the focal point is this crazy part down on the back of the saddlebag and on the front of the fairing. Right. It's very intriguing. It keeps you wanting to pick it apart and try to pick up what it is.
Right.
So we stretched it out and flipped it around, and I think everyone's going to agree you absolutely nailed it on this thing. So
yeah, because I even had some people talking about how this bike was, and they're like, is that a sticker that's on the side? And I'm like, no, the boy Springle, like I watched him, he laid it out, and all the graphics, the blue to pink fade, just watching him when he sprays that out, how insane it is. And then just, it comes back, but it's a full paint. There's no stickers underneath this, even when we get to the little special thing that we did up on the dash,
right.
Like that was all hand painted and everything.
Right.
That's what Springle's specialty is. It's just everything's paint.
Right. It's kind of hard to, pick a plan and stick with it, but we're good with rolling with the punches, and here's the finished product. So another cool thing about it is on the interfering on this bike, I'm not a big fan of gloss white interferings. It's too much. It's just too bold and in your face. So we toned it down and did some matte clear inside of there. That way you're not really dealing with the reflections from the sun blinding you when you're going down the road. It just gives it that one little piece of like a street rod kind of feel, keeps it kind of neat, and you don't pick up on it right away. So
yeah,
absolutely love the paint on this thing. It's, paint and wheels are the first two things you see. So from there,
can we also go into the background that the owner of the bike, our good buddy Chris, didn't know what we were doing. He had an idea. He saw the bike in white. He knew it was bright. Had no idea what the graphics were going to be until it was unveiled.
Well, that's also what free reign means, right? we said free reign. We meant free reign. We were fortunate enough to debut this bike at Cycle Showcase in St. Louis just a couple of weeks ago. Chris flew down with his family. It was under a sheet. He had no idea what he was about to witness. We showed him nothing during the process of this paint job, and it definitely blew his mind. Especially, you'll see the footage up here on the dash with this thing. It's a little caricature of Bobby's World riding a tricycle, but we turned it into Chris because Chris is a G with the tattooed head and everything. So it's got Nerd Glide on it, and it's just rad. That's really what it's all about. So, but yeah, man. Next up, we basically, we did our wheels on it, Forever Rad signature wheels.
What are these, the 6 flips?
Yeah, we call it the 6 flip because it's got a skateboard nod to it. Instead of doing a kick flip, it's got 6 spokes, so we're doing a 6 flip. But yeah, we could talk a little bit about, we have our wheels on it. We could talk about the suspension that we chose on this thing.
Yeah, so with the suspension, obviously we did some, Big Bear cartridges up front. We have the Arlen Ness drop trees. Chris really isn't a tall guy.
A little bit vertically challenged.
He's like your height, maybe a little bit shorter. So
hey, I'm huge in Japan, bro. Okay.
I'm huge overall.
For real though, Chris is shorter than I am.
Yeah.
But aside from that, his legs are even shorter.
Yeah, he's got a very short inseam.
Right.
So as much as we wanted to lift this bike up, because this is, performance bagger, lift, like we had to stick to, we did 1 inch over in the front with a 21-inch wheel, and then we're just a 13-inch rear shock with the Öhlins 357s. We polished the whole reservoirs out on a full purple billet aluminum subframe. Custom bag mounts, the whole reservoir hoses are hidden. There's mid controls on this bike, to set it up for how, he's a little bit shorter, keep him in. And then we did a custom seat from Rich Phillips, pushed him forward, dropped him down because he's like, he came here and he sat on the bike and he goes, guys, it's too tall. I'm not comfortable.
He did say, I love it, but I can't ride this bike. And so ergonomics is everything. You want to be comfortable in your reach. You want to be able to at least get 1 foot flat on the ground. You want to feel comfortable on the seat. So every little piece of this is completely tailored to his size, which is tiny, and it fit him perfect. It actually fits me pretty good too. I'm pretty comfy on it.
Yeah, that little bit of pushing the seat forward, and we took out as much foam, bringing him down.
Yeah.
And, we got it tailored to him, so he was super stoked on that. The fit. We have a little bit of pullback in the bars with a straight riser, then the My Machinist gauge relocation, purple billet Behringer hand controls to pair with the purple billet Behringer calipers.
Yeah.
So, some Gelfer rotors.
We got big power, we got big brakes, we got killer suspension, and now it's just going to be up to how big his cojones are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this bike absolutely will get down. It'll hold together with a built transmission and a chain drive and a solid compensator ramp, and it'll be doing it comfortably, right? Yeah. I mean, even the seat itself it's restructured, but it's very comfy. Form and function and ergonomics is what everything is about here. So even on a custom subframe like this, the handles are a big highlight. Everyone's like, oh man, these are really cool. And they are cool. The other side to that is it's set up so you can put OEM docking hardware right on that spot. You unbolt the handle, you bolt some docking hardware on, boom, backrest snaps right on it. Now you can stack some luggage right here. You could even run a tour pack on a bike like this, and it's perfectly capable of long distance.
Yeah, 100%. Because with the bikes that, we build and we've been running forever, like, they've got to be able to travel cross country. It's cool to be in a parking lot where, like, you got to set it up so it's comfortable going down the road. You got to be able to carry your luggage. Some people can travel in just saddlebags. Some people fill saddlebags with all subwoofers.
Right.
But, around here,
right.
we're like, have full saddlebags, have it so you can put on a backrest and a tour pack. And, if he wants to go out and take this bike on a 1,000-mile road trip, like, I'm 100% confident with that.
Yep. And he's doing it, looking good, as lightweight as possible. We didn't mention about it, but we got Hoffman carbon fenders on this thing. We painted them, of course, just because you can, doesn't mean you have to. So full paint job flows.
Because
we got the Screaming Speed Fab side covers on here, made in-house by Steve here.
Yeah, if you want to get into like body mods, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. Like, even with the Hoffman rear fender, we took a little off the bottom just to get it so it lines up to the bags a little bit, and then we did a little customization on the side covers to just fill it in with how they work with the subframe to make sure it's all filled in, versus how I have them for the stock. We did a metal chin spoiler, and then filled that all in. Since it has the mid controls, like, we had to add all metal back there. And then on the whole frame, we have all hidden wiring. So, like, all the wiring runs through the neck, all the wiring that runs down underneath the motor. Since you have a turbo, you don't have any floorboards to hide any of that.
Right.
So we have all the wiring and channels, and you can't wrap a zip tie around a bright white frame.
Yep.
Like, that's a no-go. So
right.
We have everything all hidden on that. So
another awesome detail. Springle had a big part in this. The subframe. These bags are floating on this subframe, which is totally unique. You'll notice there's not a rail for this thing to sit on. There's not even a pocket. So the pockets on the front and the bottom of this thing are completely smoothed out. So it's completely just floating on its own, but it's still super strong, super functional. That's all part of that My Machinist subframe, and it's absolutely killer. So
what about underneath the bags?
Underneath the bags? That's what I was just talking about. It's totally smooth, man.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know if you were going to...
There's no pocket in the front. It's totally flat on the bottom. I mean, Springle put in a ton of effort to knock that out, because you can't come this far and have something that looks like there should be rails, but there's not rails.
Right. We couldn't remove the rails and still leave the pockets that were just empty in there. Everything on the bottom of the bags is completely plastic welded, fiberglassed in. So clean whenever you even look at the bottom of the bike.
Right. Other than that, we got some killer taillights from Kellerman built into the subframe, a couple of Bajas on the front with some S1 turn signals. Stupid bright, you wouldn't need any more light than that. Top it off with a purple Clockworks windshield.
Yeah, you got the boosted Brad mids, you got the OG Moto floorboards and rear pegs. We did all the, alloy art, billet rear frame mount, the front frame mount,
motor mount,
and then have a billet kickstand mount on this thing, all anodized in purple as well.
Yep. Of course, one of those things we always want anodizing to match, so we did everything at one time. What a nightmare that was, but we did it. We disassembled everything, pre-planned, sent it all out at one time. You can't have different shades of colors in your anodizing, especially purple, which is hard to nail between manufacturers. So we definitely killed it there. And And I'll tell you what, this bike is absolutely the definition of rad. I cannot wait to start shaking it down. We just got it done with tuning over at HPI, like I mentioned. So we are officially ready to start riding this. We're just waiting for, the snow is gone, but the salt is on the roads. So we're right there, and we're gonna be smashing some miles on this thing and handing it back over to Chris. So other than that, anything else you boys wanna add about this thing?
No, I think we covered it all as far as I'm concerned, unless Sprinkle has something.
Yeah, super stoked the way it came out. Huge thanks to Chris for trusting us with the paint. I know he really wanted to be like, hey, give me a sneak peek. Give me a sneak peek a few times, and we would not let it out. Huge thanks, Chris. Really appreciate everything.
This will be just as good, man. Throwing this thing on YouTube with everyone that's been watching and supporting. It really means the world, you know, everyone's support of Forever Rad. It's extremely humbling. So we're going to keep bringing you this kind of stuff, and hopefully you enjoy it. We're trying to stay active with, you know, responding to comments and answering questions. Please do, if you have anything that you want to ask, or if you need anything from us, builds, parts, please reach out. Instagram, Forever Rad, www.foreverrad.com. I'm going to do that cliche click, subscribe. I don't know, man. I don't do YouTube, but here I am. So never say never.
Yeah, we just wanted to show you this beautiful project. So thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. And we'll be bringing you some more rad stuff. It's going to be epic. So stay tuned, and hopefully you'll see some footage from Daytona as well. Appreciate you guys.